In our gospel lesson today, Jesus comes into Gentile territory for the only time in Luke's gospel and encounters a man possessed by demons. Lots of demons. The man runs around naked and lives all alone in a cemetery. Then Jesus asked him for his name. It wasn't his answer. It was the answer of the many demons that possesses him. Their answer was legion. A legion was 6,000 soldiers, representing overwhelming power that nobody could resist. At that very moment, Roman legions occupied Israel. Their presence, a foot on Jewish necks, a knife at Jewish throats. A Roman soldier, tired of carrying his pack, could compel any passerby to carry it a mile. Roman tax collectors took people's money and sent it to Rome to be spent on foolish entertainments. And in the same way, a legion of demons ruled over this crazy, naked man, making him miserable, ruining his life. But as powerful as they were, and they were powerful indeed, the demons knew that they were not much for Jesus. When they looked at Jesus, they saw God's power at work, and they could see what was coming. They plead with Jesus not to send them back to the abyss, begged instead to enter a herd of swine, and Jesus allowed it. That didn't serve the demons well, however, because the demonic pigs rushed into the sea and drowned, presumably drowning the demons too. And the man who had been crazy became sane. The man who had been naked put on clothing. The man who had run around now sat calmly at Jesus' feet. When we read a story like that, many of us are torn. We want to believe the Bible, but we question whether there are really such things as demons and wonder if this story is true. Perhaps the people saw Jesus calm this wild man and thought that he had driven out his demons. Perhaps a herd of pigs ran into the sea and people connected that story with this man. Perhaps. We are not sure what to think. I'll be honest with you. I am not sure exactly what happened that day. I am, however, going to suggest that we not too quickly dismiss this story. While I don't believe in demons as little gremlins with forked tails, I recognize the broad outline of this story as not so different from things that happen today, every day. I see in this story the presence of evil, and I see it in the power of God as well. And those are both forces with which I am well acquainted. I read all too frequently about people living demonic lives, and on occasion I find myself in the same room with one of them when I have to go to a pastoral visit and I have to deal with someone who is mentally ill. That can be frightening, but more often it is just frustrating. I want to do what Jesus did. I want to reach out and touch these wild, self-destructive people. I want to free them of their demons. I want to rid them of the evil that controls their lives. I want to calm their wildness and prepare them for normal life among normal people. I want the miracle to happen right away, just as it did for Jesus. But I must admit that it seldom happens quickly, and sometimes it never happens at all. And at the end of the day, I know that I'm not Jesus. And if you are fully honest, you will admit that the forces of good and evil, of God and evil, tear at you too. And you will admit that good and God do not always win. In our day, we have become far more accustomed to attributing calamities and disorders to the forces of nature or to internal mental or emotional problems. The remedy is not exorcism, but counseling or medication. This is a quote from a medical doctor. But we should not too quickly recategorize spiritual demons as medical or social in nature. According to Scripture, a distinct and evil being foreign to the person possessed has taken control of that individual. This is by commentator Hendrickson. Any reading of recent history will reveal such overwhelming evil that we would have put on blinders to call it anything else. Was Hitler emotionally disturbed or evil? Would Stalin's problems have been better solved by therapy? Would Pol Pot have been less murderous had he enjoyed a better formation and education, or maybe being raised in a loving and caring family? Would have made a difference for the Orlando shooter to listening to the message of love of Jesus? And so, well, all need saving. And so Jesus comes to save us, just as he saved the wild man of Gerasa. Jesus does that in 1,000 different ways. My great-grandmother took me to church. And because Christ was part of my life from the very beginning, I never experienced the kind of dramatic conversion that the demonic man experienced. My conversion happens every time I experience God's grace in my life, from reading a biblical passage at the moment I need it. It's the most to a revelation when I have to do a research to prepare my sermon. Then something happens, and then I feel like my mind is open to a different world, and I'm touched in a very special way, to witnessing the conversion experience of someone else and seeing how this person experiences Christ in his or her life. I'm glad that I had the privilege of being raised in a Christian home. I know that it is better to be saved by a lighthouse than a lifeboat. Better to be saved before the wreck than after. I had the privilege of being saved before the wreck. But I have known others who were saved because they were open to God's grace after the wreck. And they are grateful too, perhaps even more grateful because they knew what it is like to live crazily among the tombs, to be cut off from normal life, to be truly miserable. They are grateful for what Christ had done for them, grateful to be saved, grateful for their new lives. Most of them tell their stories gladly, and theirs are good stories to hear, because there are testimonies the experience of Christ in their lives. The man whom Jesus healed, the man who Jesus saved, wanted to go with Jesus, wanted to leave his hometown to follow Jesus wherever he might go. But Jesus, who had called others to follow him, told this man not to follow him. Instead, he told the man, "Return to your house and declare what great things God has done for you." And the man did that. He became a missionary to his hometown, telling them what Jesus had done for him. That must have been a powerful witness. It's easy to ignore a preacher's sermon, but it is hard to ignore a changed life, a testimony. Every time this man's neighbors saw him from that moment on, they had to think of Jesus. We might learn a lesson from that. Christ wants to save us, and then he wants us to tell people what he has done in our lives, to show people what he has done, to become living, breathing witnesses to Jesus' power. Mother Teresa did not hesitate for a moment, but said simply, "You can do the most. You can do more than any of us, because your suffering is united with the suffering of Christ on the cross, and it brings a strength to all of us." Like the demonic man and his pain healed by Jesus, your story of pain, my story of pain, is transformed by the power of love in Jesus. This is our way to share the good news to the world. Together, we can move mountains for Jesus because we have decided to follow him. No turning back. No turning back.